Hello, I wish you a very good day. Now we can see a topic. Aeschylus as a storyteller. Aeschylus was born in 525 BCE to died in 456 BCE, and he is honored as the father of Greek tragedy. He transformed myth, Greek myth, into a very meaningful dramas. He used poetry, dialogue, and stagecraft to find out divine justice, human suffering, and the evolution of civilization. His plays are not just performances, and they can be taken as narratives for moral and spiritual political ideas. And his plays are able to shape the consciousness of the Greek. It's time to see the features of Aeschylus as a storyteller. Number one is mythic structure with the moral themes. Aeschylus made use of mythological characters and plots, but he did not merely use them, he worked on them to show, to express ethical and philosophical ideas. You can see it in an example. He has retold the story of the Trojan War. Actually, the consequences of Trojan War to bring out justice, vengeance, and the cost of revenge in a play called Agamemnon. Feature number two is use of divine and a cosmic perspective. We can see the involvement of gods interfering in human affairs in his plays. His plays reflects the conflict between the tension or conflict between fate and free will. The free will of an individual and fate is the predetermined plan for an individual. Now, how an individual can go against it or overcome it with the help of his free will. Example can be found in Prometheus Bound. Here, in this particular story, in this play, Prometheus defies Zeus. It symbolizes the fight between power and resistance. Zeus, the god of gods in Greek mythology, stands for power, and Prometheus stands for resistance. He goes against the will of God and he steals fire from him and gives to humanity. And as he has done it, he suffers. That is what we find in Greek mythology. And so we can understand that knowledge and disobedience to God may invite suffering to humanity. Next one is choral commentary as narrative tool. Aeschylus used the chorus to provide commentary in his narrative, in his dramas. He used the chorus very extensively to a very great extent to provide the background of the story sometimes, or to reflect over, to think over the moral values, and to express the emotion of the community. By doing so, he can weave a commentary in the story. Example can be seen in his play called The Libation Bearers. And here we come across the chorus of slave women along with the Electra. And they are the bearers of libation. Libation is a kind of wine or water that could be drunk. They would serve it in a ritual. And so a particular scene is used by Aeschylus to think over sorrow, revenge, and the burden of tradition. How tradition, observance of tradition can be a burden. Next one is symbolism and metaphor. He has widely used, Aeschylus widely used the symbols and metaphors in his dramas. His stories are very rich in images and symbolism, imagery and symbolism. And he used a lot of images and symbols in order to bring out multiple meanings in his plays. The examples, the example can be found in his play, The Humanites. Here we can see the transformation of the Furies. Furies are connected with the underworld and they are transformed into kindly beings, humanites. And it shows the symbol of the shift from personal revenge to civic justice. So Aeschylus is not for personal revenge. An individual takes revenge upon another one. He is for justice that could be meted out using the law. Next one is trilogy structure. Aeschylus wrote connected trilogies, three plays at a stretch on the same theme, on the same characters. And these three plays would be helpful to him to extend the story. And the story, this extension of story into trilogies would help him analyze the character deeply and to develop the theme undertaken in the particular trilogy. Example can be seen in Aristea. It is the only surviving Greek trilogy. He would have written a number of trilogies, but it is the only one that can be found at present. It shows the progression, the development from chaos to justice. So in the beginning there will be chaos and a conflict and a confusion, and it has led to justice throughout the three plays. Next one is how Aeschylus contributes to or contributed to Greek mythology. Actually, Aeschylus did not invent any new myths, but he has reinterpreted and he has immortalized. He has given a permanent life to Greek mythology in his dramas. So we can see how he has, what kind of innovations he has made in his reinterpretation of Greek mythology. Number one is he has humanized the gods. He has delineated with the gods as characters, like human beings, with motives. Each character, each god is presented as a human character with the motives and they have their own moral roles to play. And they are not mere abstract forces, some forces away from human beings. Zeus becomes a symbol of law and order, but at the same time, he represents tyranny. He stands for tyranny in Prometheus bound. Prometheus bound. And the next one is another contribution. The contribution, it's a part of his contribution to Greek mythology. Myth is used as a political and ethical allegory. His plays can be used as political and ethical allegory. So we should not be carried away by the superficial meaning of the plays. His plays used myth to think over, to reflect on Athenian democracy, democracy, law, war, and justice practiced in Athens. Aristea shows the shift from tribal revenge to civic law. Tribal revenge, actually, it was taken into the hands of the individuals. But later, because civic law is a democratic ideal in Athens, and so how individuals the right to take revenge on, the wish to take revenge on enemies has been taken away by the law. It has been taken over by the law. So the law could punish the criminals, not the individuals. Next one is preservation and expansion of myth. And he has done a very great service to Greek mythology. Aeschylus dramatized many important stories from Greek myths and he wove them into great dramas. But he left some lesser known narratives. Some of the stories have been left left out by him that could be handled by the future generation, Daunus, Prometheus, and Atreus. And all these characters and the stories about these great mythological characters could be handled as themes, as characters for future generations by the future dramatists. And we can see the influence of Aeschylus on writers and readers, and how Aeschylus influenced the readers of ancient days. So he did a very great service to other two dramatists of his period, Sophocles and Euripides. And these two people were very greatly influenced by, very greatly inspired by Aeschylus's innovations. And they also used multiple actors and very complex, very complicated moral themes in their plays like Aeschylus. Next one. Yes, Aeschylus has given importance to divine justice and the use of tragic flaws in his protagonists, in his tragedies. And it has become the central model for all the great Greek dramatists of that age and in the following ages when they try to write classical tragedies. And how did Aeschylus influence the writers of the modern days? Friedrich Nietzsche was full of praise for Aeschylus in his The Birth of Tragedy, and he has honored him with a prime example of the Apollonian and Dionysian duality. So the followers of Apollo are called Apollonian. The Dionysian are just opposite party. And so the duel between the conflict between Apollonians and Dionysians could be found in the Birth of Tragedy, written by Friedrich Nietzsche. And how did Aeschylus influence the modern writers like Eugene O'Neill and T.S. Eliot? And these two great writers, Eugene O'Neill and T.S. Eliot, drew the structure. They learned to write the plays following the structure and the moral depth they could identify, they could find in the plays of Aeschylus. And Eliot's play, The Family Reunion, is modeled on Human Eyes. Aeschylus's Human Eyes. And we can see how he has influenced, how Aeschylus has influenced philosophers and psychoanalysts of the present day, like Freud and Jung. And many Aeschylean characters are used by Freud and Jung to explore human psychology. And this, especially we can mention the name of one of the characters of the drama Arestia by Aeschylus. Arestus and the Furies can be taken as symbols by the psychologists or psychiatrists to study the inner guilt and justice of human beings. They are very helpful to study the minds of human beings. And we can see the impact of the plays of Aeschylus on readers, the ancient readers and the modern readers, and ancient audience. Ancient audience did not merely see his plays as plays only, and they could follow the plays of Aeschylus to perform their religious rituals, and they learnt moral values through his plays. And it could shape their understanding of the public, and they learned and they followed, they could understand the power of fate and the need for justice and the divine order that has to be followed throughout one's life. And the works of Aeschylus promoted civic ideas, the values, civic values that could be followed in the society. And he reinforced the values practiced in Athens, the democratic values practiced in Athens. And we can see the impact of Aeschylus' dramas on modern readers. The modern readers are able to appreciate the dramas of Aeschylus for their timeless exploration. It is not bound to the time of his age, it is confined to the time of the age of Aeschylus. Even now, the readers and the critics are interested in exploring his plays to find out the greatness of power and the endurance people show while suffering, and the moral values that have to be practiced, that have to be learned and practiced by individuals. They could look upon Aeschylus as a philosopher playwright, not only a mere playwright, and he played the role of a philosopher. He has brought out the philosophy of life because he has used myth to question law, vengeance, and the progress of society through his plays. You can see the conclusion. He is a playwright, but at the same time, he can be called a master storyteller because he has brought out through his plays of myth, poetry, the values, ethics, and philosophy. He is a great storyteller of his age, and he is able to reinterpret. He was able to reinterpret myths as the human dramas, very deep human dramas, very profound human dramas, and it is a legacy. A great legacy has left to literature and theatre and moral values. And he can, as he happened to be the first great tragedian in Greece. He not only gave stories to us, but also he played a very important role in reshaping the stories in order to show man his dignity and how plays can be used to know the values of people, and they are well known for their intensity. Thank you for listening.